Hello, my wonderful friends. It is Monday, the 1st of December, 2025. This is episode 249. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us. My name is Jake Bennett, and as always, with me is my wonderful, amazing Aussie co-host, Mr. Dorinda. Dude, how's it going?
Hello. Good. How are you?
I'm great. I am drinking Sprite. I'm eating some pretzels. It is 10:20 in the evening. Just got out of the hot tub with the kiddos and then, had to put all the chemicals in and all this nonsense. And so it's good. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling, even though it's a little bit late at night, I'm ready to go. Ready and raring to go. Let's get this thing going here.
Good. Good. It's been a couple of weeks since we spoke because it was
It
Thanksgiving
has.
over there last week when we would have recorded North Meet South. So you are off visiting family, but back on
That's
deck
right.
for. I think this is probably going to be the last
The
Laravel
last
news for
episode
the
of the
year.
year.
Yeah,
It's been a good year, man. You were
it has been.
highlight of the year as far as we're concerned was you coming to Laracon. That was so fun to see you again
Yeah.
after a couple of year break. The in-person time was a lot of fun. It was really good, Laracon, this year, and that was fun seeing you, but a lot of good stuff. I mean, you guys came through Laracon AU unscathed and doing well, and another successful year and another one planned ahead. So big stuff happening this year. It was a lot of fun. It was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good year. I said to Ree yesterday, I said, I know I kind of ummed and ahed about whether or not I would go back next year for Laracon US, but I think I would like to. And I think, we have spoken about maybe tacking an extra day on the end just so that we can
absolutely.
have a day just where we can hang out and,
Yep.
and, just do our own thing for a day because it was all a bit rushed this year. So
Yes, absolutely.
but,
It was. And that's
looking
just
forward
like,
to that.
especially for you, because you're coming all the way across the pond. It's
Mm.
like, man alive, it sure would be nice to have a little bit more time to hang out together. So
Yeah.
yep, we'll plan on doing that next year. But folks, for those of you tuning in who don't know about CodeRabbit, we're going to talk about them a little bit later in the show, but they are the sponsor for this episode, and we certainly want to give a shout out to them, say a big thank you to CodeRabbit for continuing to allow us to do what we do here. We'll talk about them halfway through the show. But for now, as always, we like to start out with releases. And Michael, I feel like I've taken the first couple the last time, so I'm going to let you take this one. 12.39, kick us off, my friend.
Yeah. Written by everybody's favorite human being, Paul Redmond, on the 20th of November, the Laravel team released version 12.39 with a new hasStack blade directive, a middleware filter for the route list command, along with the latest type updates, fixes, and more. First up, Andrew Brown contributed a new hasStack blade directive that can be used to wrap stack directives for conditional output. You can see pull request number 57,788 for details. Jason McCreary, our Laravel garbage man JMac, contributed a middleware option to filter route list output by middleware. It accepts a single middleware class or middleware group name and can also match a partial string. So this is, if you're running PHP Artisan route : list from the command line, you can now pass a -- middleware, and you can pass it, as I said, partial matches as well. You can see pull request 57,797 for implementation details, but that is all the high level things from Laravel 12.39.
Very cool. 12.40 on deck then. We've got some time helpers. Let's start off with those. Taylor Otwell added time helper functions to the Illuminate support namespace and new methods on the support carbon class. So let's talk about what we mean by support carbon class there for a moment. So carbon/carbon is a library that Laravel ships with as a default composer requirement. However, Laravel has its own carbon object that wraps that allows Laravel to sort of build on additional niceties and functionalities without having to make pull requests to the underlying class. So that's what we're talking about when we're saying there's new methods on this support carbon class. When you're calling carbon, you have to make sure that you're using the Illuminate support carbon object, not the carbon/carbon object, just as a note there. Okay, so with that being said, there are now these plus and minus methods that are available with some named arguments in there. So let's talk about how you would use that. You'd do carbon, dodop now, and then arrow, plus, and then inside of that plus, you have named arguments of years, days, hours, minutes, seconds, microseconds, etc. You just pass in years, 1, comma, days, 5, and because of the magic of PHP 8 dot something, whatever it is, which allows you to just do those named arguments inside there, and it doesn't really matter the order, you can do that magic and it feels amazing. As well, you also have the minus method. So carbon now, arrow, minus, and then again, weeks, 4. So you can just say, 4 weeks ago, basically is what you're saying there. Also, the support namespace has the following helpers, which return a carbon interval instance. So this is not on the carbon object itself. These are little global helpers you can think about. So you have a new helper, seconds, minutes, hours, days, and years. Works very similar to how the other one works. If you said seconds, 5, that's going to return a carbon interval that is 5 seconds, I believe, is kind of how that works. Minutes, same thing. Hours, same thing. Days and years, same thing. So why are these important? Where we would need these? There's a few examples of how you might use these support carbon methods and helper functions. For example, cache put. You ever have this where you'll say cache put, I want to store it as a key of name, and I'm going to store a name of Taylor, and then how long do I want to store that for? And sometimes for myself, I'll put like $ seconds equals, and then I'll do 30 times 60 or something like that. So like I'm doing this many seconds. Well, now you can just say, instead of doing that, you can say the helper function seconds parens 30 or whatever you might, minutes paren 5, so you have the ability to pass a very easily understandable helper function there that will work inside of all of these places where you have to pass in these carbon objects or these datetime objects. Same or similarly, if you were creating an invitation that expired in a week, you could say invitation create expires at is equal to now plus weeks 1. There you go. So pretty easy. It makes these things nice and readable. Another one of those like paper cut things that Taylor just like looks at this like, how can we make this read better? This is a great way to do that. All right, Youssef Kada contributed a days of month method that allows you to run tasks on multiple specific days of the month. So for example, you might want to generate a report on the first day of the month, the 10th day of the month, and the 20th day of the month. Before, what you'd have to do is you'd have to say something like run on weekdays, and then you'd have to say like, if the day of the month is the first day, then yeah, run it. Okay. You have to have like an additional when conditional there. Now you don't have to do that. You just say days of month, 1, 20, or 1, 10, 20. And because it uses variadic syntax, you can just pass those all. It will kind of explode them when it takes them in and then pop them off. You can also pass an array if you care to. So again, schedule, command, generate reports, days of month, array syntax, 1, 10, 20. So there you go. Jamie York contributed an encoding validation rule that will check the contents of a file to make sure that it matches a specific encoding. This is really helpful because we have this same problem where we have to check to make sure that a CSV coming in is encoded with UTF-8 to make sure that we don't end up with any really funky characters that we need to deal with or strip out. So now you can do file types, CSV, arrow encoding UTF-8. So not only do you get the ability to require that it's a certain extension, but you also can check to make sure that the encoding is what you would expect it to be. Youssef again contributed the ability to pause and resume queues using a command. So the queue argument is the connection and queue name. So for example, the following is the database connection and default is the queue name. Here's how you'd run that. PHP artisan queue pause database default driver queue name, or PHP artisan queue continue, again, database default. So there's documentation for details on pausing and resuming queue workers. Might be some reason why you might want to do that. Maybe you're hitting some API limits and you have a specific queue that you want to pause when that happens. You can say, in the case that I have a particular limit that's getting hit, run this artisan command to pause the queue workers for a period of time, 2 minutes, something like that, and then go ahead and resume after that. There you have it. That's 12.40. Thank you for writing that one up, Mr. Paul Redmond.
Yeah, and tacking on to 12.40 was 12.40.2. So you just spoke about this new pause functionality, which would essentially pause the queue indefinitely by using the cache stores forever method. But a new queue pause for functionality was provided, which now allows you to specify how long you would pause it for. So this is a new pause for method added to the queue manager class that allows passing the number of seconds a queue should be paused. So this is enabling that functionality for you. So you could call this and say, pause this for 2 minutes, 30 seconds, a week, whatever you need to do behind the scenes. So that was in a patch release 12.40.2.
Very cool. Well, not Laravel release, but PHP release. PHP 8.5 is released with the pipe operator, a URI extension, new array functions, and more. So let's talk about this. You're definitely going to want to check this one out in the show notes. This is a good one to read through. We're going to skim the top levels here, but we're not going to dive into the actual code examples. So follow along, but then go take a look at this one for sure. The pipe operator, let's talk about this. This is really exciting. I remember talking about this maybe a year ago when it was a candidate for inclusion in 8.5 and being like, oh man, it would be really cool if this actually made it through, and it did. So the pipe operator is an exciting prospect for PHP developers wanting to chain multiple callables together, passing a value through them from left to right in a native way. So you could, I'm going to give a quick example here. If you had a string hello world, and then you did this pipe operator, which I believe is pipe arrow. So pipe bracket. And then you have a closure. And then you, again, below that pipe arrow, closure, pipe arrow, closure, pipe arrow, closure. Or you can even use native callables functions, right? HTML entities, string split, any of these things that are going to return a value out of there, you can pipe arrow and pass whatever the result of that call is to the next one down the line and just pipe them through. Really cool. I'm sure once we get this in 8.5 and 8.5 becomes like a requirement of some future Laravel version, this will get used all over the place under the hood in the framework. I'm positive of that. So really cool. Definitely get familiar with this one. You're going to be seeing it a lot in the future, I have no doubt. PHP 8.5 is also going to include array first and array last functions. So this seems like something that should already exist, right? And for us in Laravel world, we've been very spoiled to have a lot of these little sort of helper functions, either in collections or even on the ARR helper class. So we've had them, but these are really long overdue as native functions in the PHP language. So they complement these already provided array key methods. So back in 7.3, we got array key first, array key last, which is great if all you want is the key. But if you want array first, the actual value, and array last, this is going to be present in 8.5. They do have a more detailed post going over why it's taken so long to get there. But anyway, again, take a look at the blog post for that one. A new URI extension. PHP 8.5 introduces a new URI extension, which is a standards compliant parser for both RFC 3986 and WhatWG URL standard. This will be an always available part of the standard library with this new URI extension, not something you have to install with PECL. It's just available. The new RFC has plenty of examples, but here's one from the PHP Foundation announcement post. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to tell you, if you want to know, go take a look at it. It's a complicated one, but definitely really cool. Again, seems like one of those things that's a bit overdue, but really happy to have this now. Retrieving the currently executing closure. PHP 8.5 will support recursion in closures by fetching the currently executing closure, as pointed out in the RFC. Again, I'm going to have you take a look at this one inside of the blog post. Support for closures and constant expressions. This is something you could not do previously. You could not use a closure inside of an expression of a constant. Well, now you can. Really, really cool. Making it possible to define a default attribute value as a closure. Pretty cool. Fatal error backtraces allows you to control whether a backtrace is shown for a fatal error. INI diff options. This is actually really nice for when you're upgrading between 8.4, 8.5, or any previous version. You can check the diffs in your INI between the previous version and the defaults of the new and upcoming version. Really, really nice. Folks, if you want to know more about this, again, I would highly recommend taking a look at the blog post. The blog post also links off to a lot of other places that give additional details about each one of these new features that we've talked about. Super excited for 8.5. Have not yet made the jump on any of our stuff, but I'm sure we will be in the near future. Would love to hear about your stories of how it's going.
Yeah. Everyone loves the idea of sending great emails, but actually building them is another story. You start with good intentions, then end up wrestling with layouts, fixing tiny spacing issues, and testing across a bunch of clients to make sure that nothing breaks. So, when the Maisel team told Eric Barnes they were working on something new to make this whole process easier, he was ready to try it out straight away. To give you a little backstory, we at Laravel News have used Maisel for our weekly Laravel newsletter for a few years now, and the team over there is incredible. Mailviews is their fresh take on building production-ready HTML emails with Tailwind CSS. So instead of digging through old templates or trying to piece things together by hand, you get a big library of ready-to-use components and layouts that you can customize however you need. A quick look at what is inside. There is 140 plus components. There is over 600 variants, HTML, Maisel, and Tailwind CSS sources, and a drag and drop builder for putting everything together. What stood out to Eric is how easy it is to grab exactly what you need. So whether you're building a simple announcement, a marketing email, or a full e-commerce layout, most of the common pieces are already there and you can mix and match without feeling like you're fighting the template. And then there's the builder that helps you quickly stack components and export a layout that you can then download and edit text or images locally or in your email service provider. So there's that, obviously the email template builder. There is email templates coming soon that you can download as zip files with various pre-built layouts for specific industries. And the first one that is coming early this month at the time of the recording is an e-commerce template for product drops and seasonal campaigns with more on the cards. Mailviews has a free tier if you want to test things out, and if you want the full library, they offer a lifetime license that includes everything available today plus future updates. We'll have links to Mailviews for you in the show notes.
Very cool. Hey, folks, don't fast forward through this one. I promise it's not going to take that long, and I actually think it's going to be something that you're going to want to use, and it's free. And when I say free, I actually do mean it's free. So we're going to talk about CodeRabbit for like the next 2 minutes here. CodeRabbit CLI. So this is something, it's a native tool that integrates directly into your AI process currently. So if you're using Claude to prompt things and say, hey, I want you to do this, one of the missing pieces in your flow might be, hey, if the AI was hallucinating about something, I need another agent to sort of come back behind it and clean it up and make sure that it's not doing anything crazy. That's what CodeRabbit CLI does. It takes your AI generated code and makes sure that it's production ready by catching issues at the same velocity that it's being produced by these agents for you. Really, really cool. And it also can use natural language prompting to just integrate into your process. So for example, you could say something like create a Next.js page component that displays user profiles and get it reviewed by CodeRabbit using CodeRabbit Review Plane. So what will happen is Claude will go ahead, generate that, and then at the end, it will run it through the CodeRabbit review to make sure that it's not doing anything crazy. You don't have to do it as a second step. You don't have to wait until you're in PR land to get it reviewed by something that's going to happen as part of your GitHub actions. It can do it directly in your terminal on your machine, and it's free. It is free. So it's really, really good. And it's a great starting point if you're trying to convince your team, your lead developer, hey, this is something we need to try. We need to, use in the sort of GitHub actions land on that side. Try doing it locally first, see how it works. And once you're convinced, then jump on the train with CodeRabbit because it really is that good. So free with rate limits. Works with all major AI coding agents. It supports all programming languages, not just PHP and Laravel. If you're using, if you're doing JavaScript stuff, if you're using Vue and you're doing, what's the one, Michael? What am I thinking? Why can't I think of it?
Script?
Jonathan Rennick.
No,
Inertia.
Inertia.
If you're using Inertia, right? If you're using Inertia, you can use this too. So reviews happen locally in your terminal, not after the PR. You can review specific files or the entire change set, and then it also integrates with your existing Git workflow. So you should definitely check it out at CodeRabbit.com. Check it out. It's really, 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 really good. And it's free. Try it.
On to the packages. Email Utilities is our first one. That is a small Laravel package created by Ash Allen that facilitates interactions with email addresses. A common use case for the package is on public-facing forms where it can help prevent users from submitting email addresses from disposable email providers. Another use case is for checking for role-based email addresses that are not specific to an individual. This package, just as a note, is not a replacement for Laravel's built-in email validator, but should be used alongside it and offers additional utilities for managing email addresses. So, features of the package. Determine if a user is attempting to use disposable email address. When I said that it will check whether a given email address is role-based, it looks for things like admin, support, info, sales, at addresses. You can validate the domain of an email address using methods like domain is and domain is not. You can provide additional validation rules that complement Laravel's built-in validator and allow configuration of disposable email domains and role account list. You can install the package via Composer and publish the configuration file using Composer, of course. We will have links to all of that for you in the show notes.
Okay. Auditing. Auditing. Don't we all love auditing? Nope, me either. However, it happens to be something that we need to do a lot of times. So if you're needing to keep up with changes that are happening inside your system and you're needing to log a bunch of things, there's actually a package for that. It's the Laravel Auditing package, which we have talked about previously. But if you've not used this because maybe you are using DynamoDB, we now have a DynamoDB driver for the Laravel auditing package. So this allows you to store audit logs in DynamoDB instead of a traditional database. It also includes queue support so that audit rights don't block your requests. It can handle high volumes and user operations can continue even if Dynamo is down. So once you configure it using the README, you can make your models auditable using the auditing package. You just say use auditable, right? So it's a trait that you include. The package also includes the ability to query the audits in the DynamoDB. So again, high performance, auto scaling, TTL support, flexible schema, query service, Laravel integration, queue support, all great reasons why you should check out the Laravel DynamoDB auditing package. Check it out.
Tyro is an API package for building production-ready APIs in Laravel. It is a zero-config setup with authentication, authorization, privilege management, 40-plus artisan commands, and battle-tested security. You can use the package to quickly ship secure APIs in Laravel. Using Tyro's built-in roles and privileges, you can protect routes using the roles, privilege, and privileges middleware. And you can also protect API routes using a mix of roles and privileges called abilities. There is examples for logging in and getting an API token in the show notes, but the main features include zero configuration, installation, inherited login registration, profile, role, privileges, and more. It is security hardened using Sanctum tokens, suspension workflows, and a middleware stack. Reusable privileges per role via HTTP or CLI. There is 40 plus command line interface commands, including seeding roles, privileges, rotating tokens, suspending users, and more. It is production ready, providing factories, seeders, test, and an official Postman collection, and it is fully extensible if you publish your config, migrations, factories, and override Tyro internals as needed. You can read the documentation for a complete set of features and customizations. We'll have links to all of that for you, of course, in the show notes.
All right, people, we are on to tutorials. This first one I'm actually really excited about. JMac, one of our good buddies, who, by the way, just celebrated 10 years as the founder of Laravel Shift. Can you believe it? 10 years. It's been 10 years.
If you've ever
used Laravel Shift and you have never taken the time to say thank you to JMac, he is at Gone Dark on X. You should definitely say something to him. Huge contributor to the community. And honestly, I feel like has helped to keep Laravel pushing forward because of the ease of shifting to new versions, right? And so thank you, JMac, for that. Shout out for that. However, if you've not been following along, we've been talking about this the last couple months, I would say, where Jason has been on a journey to take Laravel Shift to the most cached Laravel-related website that you've ever seen. So it was at 6% previously cached on Cloudflare, and now he's up to 98% cached. So this blog post sort of covers his journey as to how he got from 6% to 98%. The tutorial says, the top two results that he got when he was looking for how to do this initially was a post by Andy Hinkle. Shout out my buddy, coworker Andy Hinkle. There was also a package that was out there. Both use middleware to set cache headers, but for reasons, Cloudflare would bypass both solutions because the response also included the set cookie header. So Jason gets into the weeds here as to why those solutions didn't work and what you can do that's a little bit different. So what he allows you to do in here is to separate your Cloudflare page cache with a specific middleware group. So this middleware group will append something that allows your Cloudflare page cache to continue to serve correctly through the Cloudflare cache without getting re-hit on your server. So good one. And then there also, if you're interested in the whole journey sort of in a really easy to digest format, there is a upcoming course that Jason is creating called Fast Laravel. So you can check it out, fastlaravel.com. You will receive not that many emails, right? Like a couple emails, and then it's a pre-launch discount. So you should definitely check it out and sign up on the list if that's something you'd be at all interested in. I am signing up right now as we speak. So thanks, JMac. Good luck.
Yeah. Next up, it is an article from Farhan Hassin Chowdhury. If you've ever thought, do I choose Postgres or MongoDB for Laravel? This may be the tutorial for you, helping you to choose the right database for your needs. Comparison between prominent technologies is just as prominent as the technologies themselves. And developers or engineers from different backgrounds tend to indulge in debates around whether the technology they use is better than the other or not. And discussions like this often do not produce any decisive results. But here we are with another one. So Farhan goes through understanding the two different database models, the document model that MongoDB uses, the Laravel connection, how you would use that in Laravel, and talks about query language and syntax, querying data in Postgres and MongoDB, comparing the aggregation capabilities of the two different engines, comparing query structures, and so on and so forth. It is a very in-depth article, talks about lots and lots of different things. So I encourage you to check it out, even if it's just a point of interest between the two when you might use Postgres or MongoDB. So check that out. We'll have links to that in the show notes for you. And Jake, I'm going to take the last two because they are two more entries in the Laravel in Practice series that Harris Raftopoulos has been putting together. First one, Modernizing Code with Rector, which I think maybe we spoke about last episode. We did, but I think so. Worth mentioning again because Rector is a very powerful and very unsung package, utility, set of tools available in our wider PHP ecosystem. So check that one out if you haven't already. And the next one, Static Analysis Secrets, talking about your code having hidden bugs that you might not find until they hit your error tracking software. So check that out. I have links to both of those videos along with everything in the show notes.
Absolutely, friends. Hey, that wraps us up. Episode 249. Find show notes for this one at podcast.laravel-news.com/249. If you have anything to tell us about, to say you were correct, this changed my Laravel development story, or you were absolutely wrong and you need to issue a correction, or you just want to, banter, talk back and forth, hit us up on X or on Blue Sky at Jacobin, at Michael Dorinda, or at Laravel News. And of course, if you liked the show, we would really, really appreciate it if you'd rate it up in your podcatcher of choice. My friends, until next time, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you.
Out.